Okay, we're sitting down with Jill Parham from J&P Cycle's National Motorcycle Museum. How are you today?
I'm great.
Good. You've had a kind of a busy day. We caught you, at 11 o'clock here today, and everybody's asking you questions.
Yes, they are. And we've had a busy month.
Yeah. Well, you were saying before we started that you've had more visitors in the last couple months than you have almost in the whole lifetime of the museum.
So this year, so far, we've had more visitors than we've had any year since we've ever opened here.
Wow.
In 2001. Yeah.
Okay.
It's been crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm not complaining, though.
Yeah.
It's great seeing them all.
Yeah. Just making sure we're good. Cool. All right. So when did this motorcycle museum open?
So this motorcycle museum was actually in Sturgis, South Dakota.
Right, okay.
And it resided in half of the J&P Cycle store that we owned out there. And that was pegged to close down because it was very small scale. And nobody wanted to run it. They couldn't find anybody to manage it. It needed money, the whole thing, like all museums.
Right.
Anyway, so my husband in 2001 said, we were on the board of directors, but with it being in our store, and he said, well, we're taking this on. We'll take on the debt, we'll take it on, and see what we can do with it. I wanted to, I don't know what I wanted to do with him at that point because we were so busy with J&P Cycles at that time. We didn't have time to do it. And so he tried to run it from Sturgis for a while, actually out of Anamosa, and that didn't work. And so we moved it back here, and we moved it to a building down on Main Street in Anamosa. And we eventually accumulated 200 bikes.
Okay.
And some of it being his bikes, of course, and some of it on loan, in different, so it was just building. And so, and we owned the building that this museum is in currently, and we used it for J&P Cycle's tire warehouse.
Okay.
And so he kept buying bikes and putting them in the museum, and pretty soon we were out of room. And so he said, I'm gonna tell J&P Cycles they need to get a different warehouse, and we're gonna move the museum into this 36,000 square foot building.
Yeah.
Well, those 200 motorcycles got lost in there, of course. We did huge displays, and we had a lot of people working to help us do that, and eventually John kept collecting, and his passion, he grew even stronger for the history, and so we ended up having 550 bikes here at one point in time, and so a lot of them on loan, a lot of great bikes on loan, and a lot of great bikes that were donated to the museum that people gave us, like out of at the end of someone's life maybe, or they just didn't ride anymore, and it was a really nice bike, and so John wanted to have a bike for every era. He wanted to.
So he's always been a collector, kind of.
Yeah, he became a huge collector, and he's always been interested in vintage bikes, and so it was just something he just loved, and so he wanted to have a bike in here for people to come in and say, I used to ride that when I was young. That was my first bike. He loved to have people just stand there and see their first bike, or so it was bikes of all makes and models. He didn't just do Harley Davidson,
right? Yeah.
And so he just continued, and till his death in 2017, he still was collecting.
Yeah. Was there ever a point where you were like, okay, John, that's enough, or were you just supportive?
He didn't necessarily always tell me that there was bikes coming in, and so that's kind of our little joke, I guess, but. Yes, he didn't want me to say it's enough, and so he'd rather just not tell me. And
right.
But I really have enjoyed him all my life with him, But now that he's passed, and I became in charge of this museum, I really got to learn more about all the collection and everything, and it's going to be bittersweet. What's going to happen next week?
Yeah, it's coming up fast.
Yeah.
The museum's closing down, and the bikes are being auctioned off by Meekum. That's correct.
Yep, Meekum Auctions.
How did you come up with a partnership with them?
Well, John bought a fair amount of his bikes that he collected from Meekum.
Okay.
When they do the Las Vegas auction, which is a nice famous auction that happens at the end of January every year. And I went there many times with him. And after he passed, then I started selling a few bikes off at the auction. And
Okay.
and it's fun to go to that auction because you see all the industry people and all the vintage guys that are really a big part of our family.
Right.
And so it was a no-brainer who I was going to use, I guess. And so I contacted them, and we got the date set, and we did it the 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th of September, because the Davenport antique meet happens Labor Day weekend, and so a lot of guys will be at that meet that can just tool on down to Anamosa.
Yeah,
And,
just down the road.
Just down the road. So
yeah. So I imagine it's got to be very bittersweet for you, like you said.
It is. Yeah, it's going to be an emotional day for me, I imagine. I'm kept 10 of his bikes, some of them being his favorite and my favorite, and the rest are going, and no reserve.
Yeah, yeah. Hopefully they all go to good homes. I mean, you've got an amazing collection of really the history, and that was something that you kind of touched on a little bit. Is that John really wanted to show the history almost of the inception from the motorcycle, from the very beginning all the way to the modern day.
And he didn't do it just in motorcycles. He did it in memorabilia.
Sure.
He was a toy collector. He loved art. And we had a great friend that did bronzes, and so he bought every bronze and had it in here.
Oh, wow.
Most of them are gone right now because I kept those. There is a few in the auction, but so he wanted to do every part of the motorcycle history. I mean, every part of it, and with great signs, and he's got a lot of great signs in here. So.
Yeah, you guys don't have a blank wall, I think, in this whole area.
No.
So. So you said you're keeping 10 bikes.
Yep.
I imagine one of them is the yellow Harley. Can you tell us kind of the story of the yellow Harley? Because I feel like that kind of illustrates the story of J&P Cycles.
The yellow panhead came to us in probably about 1980 maybe. And John was just starting to get into vintage motorcycles then, and he had a few and sold a few, and then he said, I just love this 1955 panhead that this guy has in Ohio. And I said, we had just moved to a new house, and we were just starting out. We were just newly married, in by 5 years, and no children yet. And he's like, I know we don't have much money, but we're getting our income tax back, and if we could just use that to buy this bike. And I'm like, that'd be all of our income tax. That'd be it. And I gave in. And so we traveled to Ohio to get the bike, and it was going to be $2,500. When we got there, the guy said, you misunderstood. It's $3,000. And we only had $2,500. And we already had slept in the van that night in a side street in this town because we didn't have enough money to have a hotel. And we're looking at him. We're so disappointed. And he said, you know what, you guys are good people, I can tell, and so I'm going to trust you for the $500. And so he trusted us and let us take that bike. So that bike became a bike that we both rode on. It's got a huge solo seat on it, but we rode it together, and lots of miles on that with us. Then it went on display at J&P Cycles when we owned it, and we needed money for payroll, and so we had to sell it to get money for payroll. And so we sold it for $10,000, and we got money for payroll. And the guy said, I'm going to hold it for you, and you can buy it back at what point you're able to.
Wow.
Well, 2 years went by, and we ended up buying it back for $20,000.
Jeez.
Which is only fair. I
Right,
guess.
he didn't say what the price was going to be.
He didn't say
Right,
what the price was
appreciation
gonna be.
value. Yeah.
But so it kind of became the J&P bike because it's been around the block a few times, I guess.
Yeah, and it's been restored a couple of times
And it's
too,
been
right?
restored because it was in our fire in 1984 when we had our fire at J&P Cycles, and it got burned up, and so we had to restore it then.
How badly was it?
It was
messed up?
more the paint and everything.
Okay.
But then John decided, well, I might as well just get everything it needs, of course. And so, he fully restored it then.
Yeah. If you're going to do it, you got to do it right.
So of course I have to keep that bike. It'll sit in my house. Yeah.
I imagine is that going to be like a family heirloom? Maybe go down to the kids or the grandkids.
Yeah, my grandson already thinks he wants it. I said, you'll be able to get that, but I want to see you kick it over.
Oh, geez, yeah. So it still runs.
Yeah, it still runs.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So can you tell me a couple other bikes that you're kind of keeping or some of your favorites?
So John, when E.J. Cole had his auction, John bought a 1911 Merkel, one of a kind.
Yeah.
And I'm keeping that racer Merkel, and I'm a street Merkel, and a 36 BSA, and some board track bikes.
Okay.
And an Aramaki that we won an award on in Pebble Beach.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, it's a cute little bike.
That's a wide variety.
It's a wide variety. So,
yeah.
And an 08 strap tank. And so,
wow.
Yeah, I've got them displayed nicely. Yeah.
Oh, they're already
out of there, except for the panhead that's going this week.
Watch out for the prying eyes around here, and say because there is a mark for the Mecum auction on all everything that's for sale and everything. So I can only imagine you see something that's not for sale. That's the one that everybody crowds around and says,
they all wanted me to give up that Merkel and the 08 strap tank. But.
So that's cool though that you get to keep some and all that.
I know.
And it's probably interesting maybe to look back, and you said, when you first bought that bike and started J&P Cycles so many years ago, how's the industry changed since you started in the industry?
Well, when we started, things were, we were probably the most, I hate to use the word hated people in Anamosa,
Really?
but back in 1979, you didn't want motorcycles coming to the town.
They had a bad rap. Exactly, they had a bad rap. Yeah.
And so we were like, oh my gosh, they're bringing all these bikers to town, and we weren't loved at that point in time.
Right. Interesting.
And the cops were all on guard and everything. It was kind of funny. And then we grew and we became a huge business, and they couldn't get enough of motorcycles in town. And the funny part about it is, with J&P Cycles moving their warehouse and stuff out of here in Anamosa and having just a small retail, there hasn't been probably as many bikes in town until now that I'm closing the museum. And now that roar is coming down the highway again, and I just love listening to it. It reminds me of the old days of J&P Cycles.
Yeah. And I imagine, being a woman in the biker scene back in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s.
Yeah, that was, what was she thinking?
That has to be a big change.
It was I regained respect from all the companies that we dealt with, but it probably took a little bit. They directed more towards John, of course. But I look back and I know that he couldn't have been as successful as he was if I wouldn't have come on board and done, all the HR, things with him, because we ended up having at one point in time 325 employees, and so that was a big part of the business. And so, he handled the marketing and more of the product side of it, and I got the rest, I call it.
All the back end stuff that you need to do, but nobody really ever wants to do.
Nobody really wants to do. But I was in, before I went with him on board full time, I did computer programming and stuff. And I knew all about software, and so that was my forte.
Okay.
And so then we got new, we grew them by getting new software and new accounting so that was good.
Yeah. So you said, you rode all over the place on that yellow Harley, and I'm sure a couple, 3 other bikes over the course of a couple of decades. Do you have a trip or an adventure that you kind of always remember, something that's notable, and maybe that's the machine or... When we
built the big building down in Ormond Beach, we decided that it would be cool to ride from Iowa to open that building up. And so we did that in October, and it was just a beautiful ride going down through the Smoky Mountains and everything. We took no interstates all the way.
Yeah.
And it was one of our favorite trips we ever took, But we rode a lot just with groups of people, and for a day, go out for a day, or that kind of thing. But my husband and son have their memories of riding to Sturgis. So my son started riding behind John at the age of 12, and he could hardly wait to get his bike. And so, of course, he bought a Sportster, and he rode a Sportster all the way to Sturgis. Only a 16-year-old would do that. And so they rode and my son's rode ever since then. He
Wow.
rides to Sturgis every year, and so
Yeah.
he's got 25 years under his belt of riding to Sturgis.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. It's got to be a
Yeah.
lot of fun memories over there. So, so what do you think the kind of the legacy of the museum is going to be, or what do you hope the legacy of the museum is going to be?
I hope that people are not thinking the negative part of it, that it is closing, and it is, and the collection's getting split up, and a lot of people don't like that, and a lot of the town people don't like that I'm closing this.
Right.
But it's never financially ever been good here in Anamosa, and it's because of the location. I mean, there's just not enough people, to support it.
Right.
And so, and as I age, I'm wanting to retire, and so I'm hoping that these bikes, I'm hoping some museum maybe comes in and buys some of the nicer ones, that they want on display in their museum. Or if you wanted to just start a collection and you were just getting into it and you had the money, what a better place to come and start with 10 bikes or 5 bikes or whatever. And, some of these bikes need to be ridden. The Vincents and the BMWs, and they can be ridden and enjoyed instead of sitting here, with people looking at them. So I'm really hoping that they go to great homes, and I think there's going to be a great crowd here, and I'm hoping that I know most of the people, and I'm excited about it. But it is going to be emotional for me.
Yeah. It's going to be a long couple of days.
Be a long couple of
imagine.
days, yeah.
So do you have a, obviously some of these bikes don't just sit here. So do you have a staff and folks on your team that help maintain them, that kick them over every once in a while? Or
we do not,
really?
Unfortunately. We do not. And so they put air in the tires and they dust them and detail them. And, but they do not start them.
Oh, okay.
Unfortunately. Yeah.
Well, if there's one thing I know about the motorcycle industry and people in motorcycles is, I could probably make that thing run. Give me a couple of days or a winter, and they can get things kicked over again. So.
But it has been one of the questions when people are calling in. When's the last time that bike was started?
It's probably the first question. Yeah,
and it is. And I don't know on some of the bikes, at all.
Right.
You can go back and look at when they came in on. Or donated, to the museum, but they were probably ran before that, obviously. But so I know.
Well, some of these bikes you don't even know where they came from.
No,
either,
I don't even know where they came from. Yeah,
I'm glad that we, like most men, have the same strategy. So it gets so many, they're not going to notice. Nobody's going to notice one more.
Nobody's going to notice one more.
Say, where'd that one come from? I've had that for years. What are you talking about? You probably heard that.
I've heard that.
Heard that a million times.
I have.
So let me see what else. So. What's next for you? You said you want to retire.
I want to retire. My grandchildren are getting older. They're 12 and 14, and so my grandson started high school this year.
Wow.
I want to be able to fly there and see them at a whim.
Yeah, why not?
Fly and see a game, or I have a direct flight to to Texas out of here, and I want to travel. I want to travel before I'm unable to.
Right.
Yeah.
Are you going to stick around in Anamosa then?
I'll keep my house here, but I have a house in Florida that I certainly would like to use during those winter months that I hate so much now.
Yeah.
And so, that's kind of my plan. And I don't have a good plan in place yet, but I know that after this is over with, I'm going to take a little vacation
I was going to say,
relax.
Yeah, because, let's not forget you actually run this museum, too, and have for, a long time.
And now we're all on board 7 days a week because we're so busy.
Yeah.
We're so busy. Everybody's needed, so we don't get any breaks now.
What was kind of, the reaction? You said you've gotten a lot of support and more people this year. When you first announced it, what was some of the reaction like?
People were like kind of maybe appalled a little bit that that I was even going to do that and split this collection up, and I think they thought I'd run it forever, but I've been working since I was 13 years old. I'd like to stop, and so I think I shocked people. I'll be honest. I think I really shocked people. I think they thought I'd just keep it going, and it's been here for so long, and I want to remind them that I could have shut it down when John passed in 2017, but I didn't.
Yeah.
I kept it going. And I don't regret that at all. It's been, fun. Yeah,
Good, yeah.
I love talking to the people. They're, it's my favorite part of J&P Cycles, when we owned it, was the rally that we had out there, and all the people coming and all the customers that you got to see and talk to. And the same happened when we were in Sturgis, and I loved working the floor out there and talking to customers. Well, that's been the greatest part about this is meeting people and talking to them, and they've come from all over. All over, yeah.
Where's maybe the farthest somebody's come from, you think?
We had people from France and Holland in here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Germany and Australia the other day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we've
Okay.
had people from all over. It's funny. I love watching their faces when they come in, because I think they don't realize that it's as big as it is. You know, and we've still got a nice collection in here, and it's in place the way that it's going to be for the auction. Meekum's leaving it just the way it is right now, and they're having a big tent outside with a big screen in it, and so this museum will be intact the way it is right now during the auction. Yeah.
So what do you think it is about, I mean, you've been around motorcycles a long, long time. What do you think it is about motorcycles and motorcycling that got John so passionate that you decided to keep it going? What do you think it is about motorcycles that makes it so special?
I think it's just the people. You know, we feel like these people, the industry people and the customers that we've met, they're just phenomenal people. I mean, they're so good, and that's part that we've enjoyed the most, probably. You know, is just, and we still keep up with all of them. I mean, you know, even though I'm not at J&P Cycles anymore, I still have all those friends that I had at J&P Cycles. In fact, a lot of them are coming to the auction just to support me.
Oh, wow. Very cool. Yeah.
Which is fun.
Yeah.
And not that I'll have time for them, but, you know, I think that's probably been the best part, is just that they're such good people. They're just down-to-earth people.
Yeah. Friendliest people. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that maybe we didn't touch on that you want people to know about the museum, about you, about John, about J&P? Anything that we missed?
Look at me. I don't know. John, I know that John would be in support of me probably shutting this down now. You know, he was probably glad that I gave it 6 years, 6.5 years after he passed, because I don't think he probably thought I was going to do that. So I think he's good with what I'm doing, and I know that he hopes that these bikes go to some good homes. Yeah.
I think they will. I know that there are other museums, I think, you know, around the country,
Yes.
You know, and even, what was it, the Guggenheim Museum back a long time ago had. Were you guys involved in that at all?
We had a bike on display. That's right. In there. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. What kind of bike was that?
You know, isn't that terrible? But I think that we had a Vincent at one point.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And then, you know, when John got inducted into the Hall of Fame in, oh my gosh, 2015, we took the 1954 Vincent and left it at the AMA just because it was, So I just got that back this year. Yeah. And it is in the auction.
That's the AMA Hall of Fame you mentioned? Okay. What did he think of that?
You know, he was so honored when he got inducted into that Hall of Fame. It was one of his highlights of his life, really. And there's a video that still plays here in the museum with the induction.
Yeah.
You can still watch it. And it was one of the best honors he's ever had. Yeah.
Awesome. So I guess my last question is, you know, John passed in 2017, and you've been running it ever since. Why didn't you sell it then? You know, you talked about that you could have, but what kept you going?
I just kept thinking that his memory was here, and his passion was here. And I thought I'll just keep trying and see if I can maybe turn this around to be financially stable, but I couldn't. Yeah. And you know, there's different places that we could have moved it to, but you know, this is our hometown, and we wanted to keep it here. So I decided this was the time to maybe get rid of it. So yeah.
Well, like I said, I think you know, all these are going to go to some great homes, and I think, you know, John's legacy will be all over the country, maybe all over the world. I don't know. You might have some people internationally. You know,
I'm sure that there will be.
So because if there's another thing I know about motorcyclists, we're totally financially responsible people. So, well, thank you so much, Jill, for talking with us. I hope everything goes well with the auction, and you know, you can move on to the next chapter and ride into the sunset.
I just call it turning the page.
That's right, turning the page. So thank you very much.
Thank you.